Here we have a quiet little motel, when in fact it has now become known as the scene of the crime.
You have a vacancy?
Oh, we have 12 vacancies.
You know, this is the first place that looks like it's hiding from the world.
I think that we're all in our private traps, clamped in them. And none of us can ever get out.
Is anyone at home?
Oh, that must be my mother.
Is anything wrong?
Am I acting as if there's something wrong?
She's not missing so much as she's run away.
Put me down. Mother! Oh, God! Mother!
What are you running away from?
She looked like a wrong one to you?
It's not as if she were a maniac. She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
All right. So, let me clear my throat. Just finished seeing Psycho for the first time. Well, technically the first time. Well, the first time watching the good version. All right. I've seen the Vince Vaughn version. Don't really want to talk about it. Not very good. Nonetheless, I'm here to share my thoughts, what I thought about the movie, and what I can say is that it was great. It was so good from start to beginning. Towards the end, I feel like it was a little rushed, but overall, the tone and the feel of the movie, it's really dreary, really dark, very mysterious in a way. And Alfred Hitchcock does a really good job of making you feel like with this character, Marion, the main protagonist, and making you feel as if like you're going crazy with her in a sense. You know what I mean? Like knowing like from her perspective, like we've all been in that situation where we might have done something we weren't supposed to and we feel super uncomfortable about it, and we're having to go through our day-to-day, having to live with that in our head. And that happens to her because she ends up taking $40,000 from this rich man, pretty much from her job, and trying to take it and escape and trying to go with her love interest, which is Sam. Jesus, I'm over here stuttering like a fucking, I don't know. But nonetheless, she takes the money and she's fleeing Arizona and she's gonna go to Fairville, and she starts to just hallucinate and starts to like hear voices in her head of people talking about where's the money, where's this, where's that. Like at one point she even runs into her boss. So yeah, like I was saying, at one point when she's fleeing, she even runs into her boss and she makes eye contact with her boss, but it's still like she told her boss she was gonna go to the bank and put the money away, and there's this weird interaction, like this just uncomfortability of her seeing her boss walking on the street making eye contact with her knowing and us knowing that she's gonna steal this money. So pretty much she's fleeing and she decides to pull over and take a nap when a cop pulls up next to her, and she just feels so much, I guess you could say, anxiety and nervousness, thinking that this cop is there to arrest her and to take her. But he's just doing his duty and just seeing why she's pulled over on the side of the road. And pretty much it makes this really uncomfortable scene for her. And she ends up going and trying to like get rid of her car and trying to get rid of, like her car and get a new car. And the cop is actually there. As he drives by, he sees her there at the dealership trying to sell her car or trying to do something fishy. And he's like, what the hell is this? So he pulls over. He stops in there, and she ends up getting the car and leaving right before the cop could stop and ask her questions. And then you don't really see the cop ever again. So it's raining, and she's still super, super anxious. Hears all these voices, And this is what I love about Alfred Hitchcock, is that in this movie he uses this very high pitched like music. I don't know what instrument. I want to say it's like a violin, and it's just so, it's like screechingly, it just pierces your ears in a sense. Like, I can't really describe it, but if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And he uses that to convey like this anxious feeling, this very nervous feeling, this just disturbed and very bothered emotion in a sense. But nonetheless, she's driving and it's raining that night, and she runs into a motel, and she stops at a motel, and it turns out to be the Bates Motel, where most of this movie takes place. And she ends up meeting Norman, and right off bat you meet Norman, and he's just strange. Like, it is just something off about this guy. You could just tell. Like, I know I'm not the most socially accepted person, you know what I mean? Like, I could be awkward sometimes, but like, you know when somebody's more awkward than you are. And like, I'm not here to like pick at him or pick at somebody that's like that, because I get it, you know, like some people are just not raised with the social awareness that other people are, you know. But he's just super socially awkward, like really weird, and he just asks a lot of questions. He's very very quick when he talks. So you could tell like he's kind of just a, not a klutz, but just off, you know, something's off. And it doesn't help that she's already nervous from taking this money, and she's already like in her head already, and to have somebody like Norman come up, like, it just, I guess in a sense it kind of made her relax a little bit. But anyways, nonetheless, he invites her to a dinner in the office of the motel. They end up talking, and this is where like you kind of get a glimpse of how protective and conflicted Norman is about his mother. Like, he defends her to the end of the world, but then like he will go back and talk about her in a negative aspect, but still say he loves her. And this was like the first sign that you could tell like something was wrong, because just the shot of him sitting down like this talking to Maurice, and you see like a camera angle from like down here, like facing up. That shot is so nice. You just see like for like 2 minutes, you just see it from his perspective, like just him talking about his mother, and like it's very uncomfortable, but it's so good, so good. But nonetheless, they get into like a really heated conversation in a sense, but it's heated but subtle, you know what I mean? Like, it's very I don't know how to describe it. It's just a really strange conversation nonetheless. But she ends up going to bed. She ends up saying thank you for the dinner, goes to bed. And this is where Norman was like, he started getting thoughts in his head, and he decided to become a peeping Tom, I guess, or spy on Maurice and watch her through the hole of behind of a painting in the wall. And pretty much this leads up to the shower scene that that's very iconic. It is, you know, like, even if we want to admit it or not, it is iconic. How do I want to describe this? I mean, this is spoilers, but like, if you haven't seen this movie, alright, spoilers ahead, okay? Pretty much Norman goes into the bathroom and kills this lady, the main character. Yeah, like 30-40 minutes into the movie, it's something. But he ends up killing her, and the scene is very graphic for its time. You know, like, once I saw it today and I realized, wow, that wasn't so bad. But then I gotta remember, this is the 1960s. This was not normalized. The killing of people on screen was not normalized like it is today with the movies like Saw and movies like Hostel. And almost every serial killer movie nowadays, it's far more graphic than this is. But you got to keep in mind, this is kind of the movie that helped them do what they can do nowadays. You know, like, this kind of took the leap of faith to say, hey, like, we could do this and we can make it good. But it took that risk, you know, and it paid off well. But nonetheless, the thing that really got to me about this scene is that it's not when he killed her, it's when her body was just lying there in the bathroom on the floor. Her head on the bathroom floor, her body hunched over the bathtub. And you just see a shot of her eye, and it starts to pan out. And you just see the whole body just lying there. That's when it creeped me out. It wasn't even much of the killing. It's just after the killing. And even after that, when he starts to clean up the body, that shit started to bother me, because he just threw the body on a shower curtain, and you just see him cleaning it up. And it's just, that's the shit that bothers me the most, because, like, I don't know. It just does. I can't really describe it. But nonetheless, he ends up throwing the body and all the money. Like, he didn't even know about the money. He was clueless about the money. And that's pretty much like the main point of the story, is the money. I mean, obviously she died. But, like, everybody's like, what happened to the money? Like, later in the movie, you find out that, like, everybody wants to know where the money is. And Norman just threw the money away. Like, he didn't know about the money was in the newspaper, but he still threw it away. And it's in the swamp. And this is where we get introduced to the investigator, the detective. And he goes to her love interest, Sam, and you see her sister show up in this part of the movie. And he's looking for her because he doesn't want to arrest her, but he wants the money back to give it to the rightful owner. And pretty much he goes on a montage looking for her. And he ends up meeting Norman Bates at the Bates Motel after visiting multiple hotels. And this part was great. This back and forth cat and mouse. Like, Norman trying to defend himself and the detective just outwitting him and just being smarter than him and just knowing that he's lying. That was really great, honestly. I really liked that part. And, like, just seeing the cop, like, outwit him and make him feel dumb. It was great. It was really good. And the cop wants to talk to his mother, and his mother, like, Norman's like, no, you can't talk to my mother. And he's like, I think it would be best if you leave. The cop leaves and then comes back later, and he ends up, like, between that leaving and then coming back, he talks to the sister of the girl, the main character, and ends up saying, like, hey, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna try to talk to his mother. And yeah, he ends up going back. And this is the part where he dies. Honestly, like, I don't know how I could lead into that. Like, yeah, he goes and starts looking around, and he ends up getting killed by this entity. I don't know. I don't want to. It's Norman. Like, what else? Like, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it. It's a great movie. But yep, he ends up getting killed, and then you fast forward to that, and the sister and the brother end up concluding the story, end up talking to the detective, end up going back to the house. You know, like, this movie's pretty tight, honestly. This story is pretty tight and confined within, like, 2 hours, and I feel like the end was a little rushed, but it kind of, I feel like if they stretched it out more, it kind of would have been overkill. So, like, in a sense, it's perfect the way it is. But yeah, they go back and they start looking through everything because they realize, hey, like, the detective is gone and my sister's gone. We got to do something. So they go back and they end up finding this iconic shot of the girl going downstairs to the fruit cellar, turning the body around and seeing a deceased Norman Bates' mother in a chair, eyes gone, body decomposing, being there for 10 years, and then you end up seeing Norman bust through the door with a wig on, a nightgown, and with a knife, and then Sam catches him right before he kills the girl. And then you cut to the police department and you see Norman there, and then you just get this long just backstory about what happened to Norman. And this is probably the best part of the movie, arguably. I mean, I really liked a lot of parts of this movie, with the cop and even the conversation with Maurice and Norman, and the scene where she dies in the shower. I mean, like, there's a lot of scenes in this movie I really enjoyed. But it was the ending where you really find out why Norman had kept her body, and, like, you just throughout the whole movie, it's just a question, like, why can't nobody talk to his mother? You know, like, You hear his mother throughout the movie having conversations with him, and then you find out his mother has been dead, and he took his mother, and it inhabited him into his, it inhabited his personality, and like 50% of his personality is himself, and then the other 50 is his mother. But then you end up finding out that most of it's mostly his mother. Most of the decisions that happen are from his mother. The reason he killed the main character was because his mother in his brain was telling him, yo, like, I'm jealous of this woman, kill her. And he killed her. Like, that shit is crazy to me. Like, this, I don't know, that shit is wild, because you gotta think of it like this was made in 1960. I don't think mental illness was as prominent as it is today. You know, like, you say something like mental illness back then, they're like, what? Mental illness? Like, they kind of shrugged it off, you know, but nowadays it's like everyone's depressed, you know. It's crazy to think about that. Everybody is unhappy and depressed with their life, and everybody has anxiety nowadays, and it's like, it was so different back then. So it was definitely it was really nice to hear a different story, and to see a different outcome and a different sort of perspective on mental illness. And it was really good, honestly. It was great. The way it unfolded, the way the cop explained it all at the end, it made sense how he was disturbed at a young age from his dad dying, and then him ended up killing his mother and the boyfriend she had, because he had such a strong relationship with his mother to the point where she had a boyfriend and she put the boyfriend before him, and he ended up killing them both because he didn't want her mother to be choosing a boyfriend over him. That shit is crazy, man. That shit is crazy, but it was so good and effective. But honestly, I'm gonna wrap this up. This movie was great. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Watch it on Blu-ray. If you can find it on a website or something, like obviously Amazon Video or somewhere legal, you know, check it out. Really good movie. Really enjoyed it. If you like thrillers, you'll definitely appreciate this movie, and just the black and white aesthetic is just great. Honestly, it's like it's a breath of fresh air knowing how it used to be, and it doesn't even take away from the movie. It just adds to it. It adds character to the movie being black and white and having this noir feeling. It gives the movie so much more depth, in my opinion, and it's perfect. Honestly, like, it's just a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's great. It's really good. But yeah, that was Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. This was the first viewing, I guess, on my channel. I want to do more of these, so I'm gonna try to figure out a way to implement a voting section, maybe in the description, where you guys could vote on what movie I should watch next. I think I'm gonna put like 4 or 5 options. And you guys, if you see this video up to this point, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing, or even commenting what you thought about this video, what you think about Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. If you enjoyed, you get that like, or you can go to this voting poll and vote what movie you want me to see next. Like, you'd be surprised what movies I'll put down there, because there's a lot of good movies out there that I have not seen. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And have a great day. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.